Hello and welcome to Comment Below, a podcast where we talk about the news and topics of the week, but more importantly, what has been commented below. We delve into the mess that is our social media, finding stories you may or may not have been talking about this week. Isn't that right, Ben?
That's correct, Alex. We ask questions on all our social medias, such as this one. What is one of the most embarrassing ways you have injured yourself?
Oh, well, like Ben Stiller did in, what was it, the song about Mary when he trapped his penis in his fly? Something like
I've
that.
not seen that.
You not seen that film?
The only thing I've seen is him at dinner, like putting something in his hair or something.
Oh, that's the famous cum scene. Yeah, he. Funny enough, we were talking about jacking off just before we started the show. Yes, we were.
I wasn't.
Well, you were. Just you're now pretending that you weren't for your modesty, in case someone you know might be watching. Yeah, he was jacking off in front of the mirror before his date with Mary.
Right.
And he came, didn't know where the cum had gone. He didn't realise it was on the end of his ear. She thought it was gel. She then put it in her hair, and that's why her hair sticks up. There you go, for anyone who's never seen that.
So is that your story, is it?
What, that I came to his hair? No, I don't think I have an embarrassing. I remember once when I was a kid. And I was
Everybody's a cool social services.
I remember I was wiping my bum,
Right.
and there was like blood
God.
and the toilet paper.
Okay.
I was very young. I was like 5 or 6, and I remember calling my dad, and my dad was like, "No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's probably because the toilet paper was a bit rough." There you go.
Very posh.
To delve into. Well, it wasn't posh, was it? It was like that
The
toilet
posh
paper.
boy can't cope with rough toilet paper.
You know that toilet paper, that really thin, like really kind of like it's like greaseproof paper. So actually, when you wipe yourself with the toilet paper, instead of cleaning you, it kind of smears it.
No.
They used to have that
We're
at
in like
school.
the first 2 minutes of the episode and you're talking...
Toilet humour. You started it by saying, well, I started it by saying something about me.
Well, Abby commented...
Well, we're moving on.
And she said, tripped over my own bootleg jeans, I wonder what year this was, and fell down an entire flight of stairs while holding a full composting bin in one hand and a bag of recycling in the other. Landed at the bottom, surrounded by empty tins and vegetable peelings all over me.
Oh dear.
I fell off the kitchen side trying to get a biscuit once and broke my arm.
Well, you were climbing to the top of the cupboard to get there.
To reach for the biscuit tin. Fell off, plop.
Who found you, or did no one find you?
No one.
My brother fell off. We were in a bunk bed when we were staying in a caravan years ago when we were kids, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother fell off the top bunk when he was asleep, and he still got a scar on the corner of his eye where he fell backwards.
Was that Butland's, was it?
No, I can't remember what it was. It was
Centipede.
Yeah. No. Why do you think
Isle of Wight?
It probably was the Isle of Wight. I think it might have been Whiteley Bay.
Yeah.
Do you know Whiteley Bay very well?
No, is that Isle of Wight? We went somewhere on the Isle of Wight there, like an old prison camp turned into a... It was really horrible. I remember that.
With a lot of people, it could be argued that the Isle of Wight is one big prison camp. Oh, sorry for anyone who's listening from the Isle of Wight. Of course, I don't mean it. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. They got those sands. You know those sands when you can have the different colour sands and you can fill up different.
Yeah, you put it in a bottle, don't you?
Yeah, and you fill them up all the different colours. Or you could have one which is the shape of the Isle of Wight. That's the one I picked. And then they plug it with like some kind of like Play-Doh-y cork thing. Yeah, but it's not a cork. It's kind of like it's like clay. And they plug it in, and then you have to come back like half an hour later, which was a ploy really for you to go off, spend more money elsewhere, and then come back and then get your. Where was that? Allen Key? I can't think of that.
No.
It's where the
Black Gang China is the only thing I remember.
Black Gang China. I loved Black Gang China, but a lot of that's fallen into the sea now.
Mr. Blobby was there, was it?
No, Mr. Blobby wasn't there. That was Wrinkly Bottom, and that was in Cornwall, I think. That was near the.
No, there was an upside down Mr. Blobby room somewhere on the Isle of Wight.
No, I think you've made that up.
No, I haven't.
I don't think Noel Edmonds would have
down.
Noel Edmonds would never have allowed to license Mr. Blobby in such a way. I'm sure he wouldn't have done that. Not at all. Not in a million years. Hey, Ben, I've got something to ask you. Would you order a pizza from Aldi Delivery? Because they're now delivering pizzas, cooked pizzas for £4.
You mentioned this.
In Cardiff, Edinburgh and Manchester as a trial run.
Including delivery.
Undercutting Domino's by about 4 times less, because Domino's is about £16 for a pizza, unless you get a discount code, which, of course, why would you?
That's not going to make any money, though. Who are they paying? Are they paying the delivery drivers or what?
Well, I don't really understand it. But they're trialling it. It's Aldi-owned brand pizzas, but obviously, as you know...
Yummy.
Which are yummy, but also, as you know, Aldi tend to kind of clone other brands that look like... So they do, like, Aldi do their own kind of, like,
McDonald's.
double cheeseburgers, and they do their own KFC, and they look uncannily like the brand.
No knickknacks now. They're called Nibble Nobbles.
Nibbly Nobblies.
Like that, yeah.
They're really nice actually as well.
Long with Audi.
Yeah, good old Audi. But would you order an Audi pizza? £4?
I'm not going to say no, but I just find it questionable, like, who's going to be doing this work? Like, because they don't even do food delivery, Audi, so how are they going to...
Well, you can order food online to pick it up from Audi. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they don't deliver it. Maybe you go to Audi and pick it up and it's cooked already. But then they would need, surely, they wouldn't have just like a hot point in the corner of the room, would they, just to put a few pizzas in? They'd need an industrial size oven of some sort. But then they've got the stock in store, haven't they?
Yeah, they don't even have cooking areas in there, so...
Yeah, it's not like Lidl, is it, where they have their own bakery? See, they have their own large ovens in.
I find this very odd.
Right, well, there's been a lot of news, hasn't there, this week? A lot of news in the UK. But because Ben gets a little bit of a chub on when he talks about Dan Wootton, I thought we'd bring Dan Wootton into the mix again this week.
It's breaking news, it's fast happening.
Mm-hmm. Now, in fear of us becoming a GB News podcast...
Well, they may not be around for much longer, so...
That's true, so we are honouring them by doing this, I feel. This week, all based on an interview. Not an interview, it was a discussion that was on the BBC, Politics Live, on the 25th September. A comedian, Jeff Norcott, has a book, and he, in the book, discusses male suicide, and he says that it's perhaps something that doesn't get a lot of discussion, especially in Parliament. One of the guests on the panel was a woman called Ava Evans. Mm-hmm. She did disagree with him, but she said that there's also issues in the same kind of ilk for women too. And so to single out just men, maybe you should discuss it with women as well. Mm-hmm. And Jeff kind of argued, yes, I'm not debating that. But at the same time, I think that there's the issue that we do need to focus on male suicide. That is much far higher than it is for women. And there's a lot of stigmatism around men talking to one another about their problems. Anyway, we watched it, and it was
I know, because there was this big hoo-ha afterwards from the Dan Wootton show, and it was like this huge thing, and it's like, well, where did this, but it's typical of their show, it's like this, he's already got some weird vendetta against this woman somewhere, so he's waited for her to say a sentence, and then that's it, I'm going to do a whole subject of her, so that's obviously what happened, but yeah, the subject was really... They weren't arguing, they weren't disagreeing with each other, there was nothing...
It was a debate.
Yeah, it was just very normal, conversation debate, which wasn't really that...
Lunchtime
electric.
On BBC One.
Yeah.
It's just typical Politics Live fodder.
I do find funny that this is the thing that has taken Laurence Fox down, Dan Wootton down, possibly GB News. And it's like, if you see some more things that GB News has been airing the past 2 years, this actually isn't unusual for what they do, and probably isn't the worst thing that they've been saying on there. There's been loads of things that they've been saying, conspiracy theories, like Bev Turner laughing about people dying in extraordinary heat. Yeah. There's loads of things that they've been saying, like that weird fake vicar man who says all sorts of weird things.
The guy
trans
hosted Coast.
He says that Holocaust doesn't exist.
Holocaust doesn't exist. This is all on GB News in the UK.
This isn't actually the worst thing GB News has done, but it seems to have caught on somehow, because the woman, Ava, tweeted it, didn't she? Because she saw that they talked about her on GB News, and she tweeted saying, apparently, this has been said, I've not been asked for comment or reply or anything. But it's it's just weird that this is the thing that sort of picked up, and all the media were kind of it seems like they've been waiting for an excuse, and oh, this is it. Yeah, this is their excuse. There's a load of other awful things, but if it happens, I'm happy that it's happening.
Yeah, you're happy. You're kind of happy that it is happening.
It's just odd that this was the thing that did it.
Well, Dan Wootton and Laurence Fox, basically on Dan's Wonton's program on evening show, whatever. What's it called?
Unbiased.
Wootton Live, spin. Whatever. No spin.
No bias.
No bias. All crap. He had Laurence Fox, who's also kind of made a name for himself for being a little bit of a madman.
So he got divorced and then went a bit nutty.
He made comments on Newsnight. He made comments on Newsnight about 4 or 5 years ago. He got called out for those comments, and instead of apologising for it, he's kind of doubled down on it and now made it his personality to kind of
people who
go on about it
on GB News. They say something, refuse to apologise, say they've been cancelled.
But this was well before
get a show
GB
on
News.
get a show on GB News.
Yeah, but this is well before GB News. Laurence Fox had decided to double down on it and use it as his means of earning money, because he's constantly saying like, "Oh, when I was an actor," because he was an actor. When I was an actor, I was offered millions to do these roles, and I turned them all down because now I want to speak the truth. The thing is, Laurence Fox and Dan Wootton can't use the excuse of mainstream media trying to bring them down, because that would mean that then the show that they were originally on would be considered to be mainstream media.
You think they couldn't say that, but Laurence Fox is.
Oh, of course he is. So the thing he said that he wasn't doing is now he's doing in defence to what he had done. So it's typical nonsense. So Dan Wootton and Laurence Fox had been very misogynistic, made lots of comments about Ava on the news programme. It went like wildfire over social media. People were fuming. Like, there was no one in the right, on the left, in the centre. No one endorsed it. No one did. There was obviously the odd one or two, but most people were like,
Dan Wootton didn't endorse it. He tweeted his first tweet since his expose.
That's right.
Said, I didn't actually think this. I've contacted Ava. He tried to phone her loads of times apparently, but she wouldn't pick up because she didn't want to. She said that he left a voice message for her that sounded like what he tweeted. And she said she didn't want to speak to him and accept it because she wasn't sure whether what he was saying is true, because it's Dan Wootton. Lo and behold, the next day, Laurence Fox then does another expose on his own people. And it's like, okay, so she was right. Dan Wootton was not being...
he's a sly little fox.
Surprise.
And he's a liar. Oh, what a surprise. Well, let's remember that.
Let's go from the beginning, because there's lots of strands.
There's lots of strands here. So, because this is now developed into a lot of infighting now between Dan Wootton and Laurence Fox and GB News, and now the Daily Mail are getting involved because...
This is breaking news. It's fast happening.
It's happening. Dan Wootton was obviously with Daily Mail. They had suspended him already over the allegations of... What's the newspaper called, or the news... Byline Times, who had released about a month ago a string of articles.
3-year investigation.
And there's a string of articles they kept dropping all the time, each one worse than the last for Dan Wootton. And it was basically allegations of sexual mischievance.
Yeah, blackmail, all sorts. And Dan Wootton started a crowdfunder to help pay for his lawyer fees.
Because he's earning $600 a year.
But he used a website where they don't make you use the money for the cause, which was interesting. But that's now been taken down, everyone.
Well, it's paid his mortgage, so he's out.
Well, he only got 30,000 of his 150,000 target. But he's taken that down, so that's gone as well. So
that's good. I'm glad.
It's falling apart.
So before we go into like the infighting, before Dan the next morning kind of put out a statement, before then Laurence Fox then kind of said, well, your statement isn't true and here's the reason why, and then showed him the notes for why it wasn't true, gave him the evidence. Jeff Norcott, who's the guy this all started with, this discussion between Jeff and Ava on Politics Live on BBC, had tweeted and said, this is the comment, so this is why it's called comment below. Ava, this is awful to watch. Obviously, you and I disagree strongly. I'd like to take up your conversation of developing this in the future. Any insulting online reaction to you or any other panellist draws focus away from the dialogue, which ironically is what they were claiming to be angry about in the first place. So it really, really good response by Jeff. He's basically saying that it was just a discussion. This has been blown out of proportion. Obviously on purpose by Wootton and Fox. They didn't realise it would go as far as it did. But
Fox was saying, I wouldn't shag you in a pub. It's basically what it boiled down to. And it's like, really?
Well, misogyny, which is disgusting.
Yeah, it's like, that's what... We have to listen to Trisha Paytas. She always says, you can insult me, insult intelligence, insult argument, but when you start doing, saying I'm fat, I'm ugly... That's the lowest of the low, because it doesn't mean anything.
No, of course.
Go for the argument what you're there to debate.
But then that's basically described them to a T. The base level of, they have nothing to discuss, they have nothing to argue about. And that's what, Jeff Norcott has said. It's like the whole point of us having this discussion was meant to be talking about whether male representation in mental health care is good enough to be held up to say, it's helping people. But no, it's got lost now because this whole nonsense that, Laurence Fox decided to start slagging off a woman for being a woman, essentially. He's like, oh, how dare you?
And it's just nothing to do with the conversation. Saying, if I met you in a pub, I wouldn't shag you. It's like, well, really? What's that adding to anything? And Dan Wootton is just there.
laughed
dead behind the eyes.
Donkey Kong at the top of the scaffold of the first fucking screen. But so then this went on. Then Dan Wootton said like, "Oh, I didn't know he was going to say that. Of course, I wouldn't endorse what they would say, all this and the other." Forgetting that this was actually documented on videotape of him sat there laughing his little face off. And Laurence Fox then posted the receipts that he had this before they went on air. They had already had this discussion
with the producers
about what they were going to talk about. So Fox had already told them that he was going to
say,
basically slag her off. And afterwards, he has a tweet from Dan Wootton saying, basically saying like, "Oh, you made everyone sweat in the gallery. I love it when you do that.
Always make me laugh."
Laughing face. So
and that was after it aired.
So he's sly little fox. We didn't know anything less about Dan Wootton, but of course he's a sly little fox. And so this is caused now.
It's just amazing that it took less than 3 hours because Laurence Fox woke up, tweeted saying, "Everyone, don't jump on Dan. It's not his fault." 3 hours later, Dan does the apology, basically saying he doesn't agree with what Laurence Fox said, and then Laurence Fox then sends the WhatsApp messages, and now all the other presenters on GB News who still want their cash cow to come in because they pay very well over there somehow, we don't know how, they are now sort of jumping on, and you're either sort of siding with the producers and your boss, or you're siding with Laurence Fox.
Well, I can tell you straight away why they're getting paid so well. It's because it's money from outside the UK by lots of right-wing
GB News
millionaires who basically want to control the conversation in the country so that they continue earning tax-free money for the rest of their lives. But it's still GB News, despite them being funded outside of the UK by many, many different sources.
So, I mean, I know Juliet Hart Brewer's Talk TV, but she jumped on the thing and said what Laurence Fox said was bad, and he then replied saying, "You're just a mouthpiece, being paid to say what you are." Didn't take long.
Funny how they
just eat each other. People talk about the left eating each other all the time because the liberal left always sort of jump on other left and say you're not left enough, and it's like a thing, they eat each other. But this is just, it's like wildfire. It's gone.
No, the right are much more worse for this kind of stuff. Look at the Conservative Party, how they've like fallen out and gotten to plaster themselves together with sticking band-aids and something or other. It's all about being right, isn't it? With the right, and it's really. I mean, it's fun to watch them kind of all falling out with each other at the moment on social media, but at the same time, it's like these are the weak-minded nonsense people who a lot of people hold up to acclaim, and it's frightening that people do that to them.
This shows how weak they're. This is GB News' fault for creating this channel, which is like, we're free speech. You can say what you want. So now when they actually have to investigate something or sack someone or suspend someone, they just go off the rails.
But this is the funny thing, because GB News has done this in the past. Remember that guy very early on? He went down on his knee because he supported Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And GB News then said, "Oh no, that's out of our guidelines." And it's like
that was okay to them.
That's freedom of speech. Yeah, but this is it. So they're not out of the rules at all. Ofcom are finally investigating them because there are standards in the UK for how television broadcast journalism should be presented, and it's mad to me that it's taken them so long. You were telling me that there's a rumour now that GB News have decided that they might, when their licence expires for a digital TV licence, as in that they are allowed to broadcast, they're going to just block it altogether and start just broadcasting on YouTube. Obviously, that's like the Wild West. You can pretty much do what you like so long as you don't like salute the Nazi salute or anything like that, which, again, I wouldn't put out the realms of possibility with some of the presenters on GB News, let's be honest.
I mean, Laurence Fox went on to Mark Dolan as well because he stepped in.
Mark Dolan,
brilliant news presenter, Mark Dolan, who was a comedian apparently. So he went off on him, and the only one who I've seen support him from the team is the fake vicar. What's his name? Simon Robinson.
Oh, I don't know. He's a prat.
He's a fucking idiot. But he's supporting Laurence Fox. So
but
apparently neither of them are going to be seen back on that channel. Is the rumours.
Well, that's the rumours. We know for sure, as I said, that Dan Wootton has been fired. He had been suspended from the Mail online, writing an article. He has now been outright fired. I mean, if you've upset the Mail, which is literally just one step before you get to GB News, then you're in trouble.
I know.
Because at the end of the day, they have to remember, and I think Elon Musk knows this kind of as well, hence why he's going to start subscribing his users for X. they still need to make money from advertising. Despite GB News hemorrhaging money because they can, because of all the millionaires, at the end of the day, they still want to make money. They still want to make some money eventually.
Those billionaires are going to want something.
They're going to want some return.
And they're not getting the ratings, so they need...
But they're not getting the ratings. Every time they seem to get some advertisements. But who was that woman with the red lipstick who had that rant because someone had called out?
She's in I don't know her name.
She was like going, well, how dare people start saying that you're not allowed to advertise on GB News? It's like, well, people won't advertise on GB News because brands don't want to be associated with them.
People can choose to if they want to.
Of course they can, but most brands don't.
Exactly.
Because it's a venomous brand. It's not a brand that you want to be associated with. So,
and then when they do pull out, I think Laurence Fox was the one who did it, who then calls the company woke and does a boycott on that coffee company, and then the coffee company had record profits.
Good.
So the woke, there was a really ridiculous headline. This is completely off topic. In the Sun today, that the train line that Rishi wants to scrap.
Oh, HS3, HS2, HS1.
The headline was that it's a woke bridge.
What does that mean?
Woke. It's gone woke.
Oh, so how's it gone woke?
The train line's woke.
But I don't
scrap the woke train line. It's like, what are you even saying?
That doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Well, it's because the Sun support the Tories. The Tories want to scrap HS2, and so the Sun are now finding a reason.
A word.
Yeah, some reason, and they think that woke will turn everyone off straight away. They'll be like, oh, well, you said that.
So
now
ridiculous.
The Sun has said that. Rupert Murdoch, please stroke my balls a bit more. Thank you very much.
It's like, how is the train line woke? But anyway, that's another subject. But I just thought like that.
The train line.
That word has so much to answer for, because that's like Piers Morgan a few years ago was doing that, and now he's on Woke Watch on his channel, and it's like, what is this woke thing? It's just
the funny thing is
so
that it's
annoying.
actually complimentary. So there's it's being said as if it's like an insult, but like I'm just like okay, fine.
It's being aware of things. That's
being aware of the world around you and of people and sympathising and being caring. Oh no, I hope I don't turn into that.
Right, so have we got any comments?
Well, we do, and mostly they are about the fighting between Wootton and Foxy. I'll make Foxy. At Jilven2416 said, them fighting to be bottom of the barrel is hilarious. Well, that's it again, isn't it? It's like they're fighting to be the worst of the worst, which is again insane. At Tarnish A. Bramwell says, no integrity for both of them, not even for one another. I always knew they would be each other's downfall.
Yep.
And
they all will be.
Laurence himself had tweeted on X as well. I'm not going down on my own. You're coming down with me, to Dan Wootton earlier. So
I'm not applauding Laurence Fox for anything that he does because he's terrible, but I'm glad that he has done that.
Well, I'm glad he's done it because he's destroyed both him and himself.
Yeah,
and so him and Dan Wootton. But I mean,
silver lining.
But Laurence Fox isn't that fussed about it though, because
I bet he is secretly.
Oh, of course he is. The thing is, that's the thing, isn't it? The more someone screams and moans and cries about something like that, the more they are really upset about it.
Yeah. At the time of recording, he has said that he predicts that he'll be fired during a disciplinary on Friday. Dan Wootton, we're assuming, is not going to return back.
Yeah, so but where does Dan go? That's the question. Where does Dan go from here?
Rumble. With Russell Brand.
I'm thinking he's going.
Well, they're losing advertisers since Russell Brand signed up.
Yeah, but Rumble's been like that before, because we have a friend, I won't say their name, and he or she, they watch Rumble because they come up to us sometimes with their conspiracy theories and say, oh, I saw on Rumble, so it must be true. And we're like, careful. Also released today, if coincidentally or not, we don't know, is that the BBC had done a review for what people who work for the BBC, either on the contract or even freelance, so even if they kind of just like do an interview or a show as a guest or anything like that, what they're allowed to tweet or put on social media about their views of the world politically, and also just kind of like every day, like, oh, the sky's looking very blue today. This review was taken by ITN ex-chief executive John Hardy, so it's seen as very respectful, because ITN is a very good news source as well.
It's basically come from the Gary Lineker thing in the last year.
It started because Gary Lineker made that comment about
Cruella.
Was it her, or I thought it was Patel?
Oh, it might have been.
I think it was Patel, and he linked what she had said to basically statements that the Nazi Party had said in the 1930s.
I think it's Cruella Braverman.
It's either her or Patel.
Sure it was.
One of the same.
Yeah.
It's like Wootton and Fox. One of the same. So basically, these are some of the rules that have just come out of the review. Most importantly, is basically if you work in news, you must stay impartial unless you are showing insight to a news story.
And that was kind of the thing already, wasn't it? The news reporters always
Pretty much.
very
I've seen a few occasions where people who have written for the news have kind of lent one way or the other. Who's the one who does that Sunday show? She tends to go a bit blue sometimes, doesn't she?
What, Laura Green?
Yeah, Kunzberg.
Yeah.
Flagship programs. So what programs are broadcast on the BBC? Examples are The Apprentice and Match of the Day, obviously, because of Gary Lineker, because he hosts the show Match of the Day in the UK. The Apprentice. But The Apprentice is Alan Sugar. And he has a tendency of doing things as well.
Oh, and his assistant, Karen, she's a baroness.
She's a baroness. While these shows are on air, they should they should be responsible for their views and not show any political leanings.
While they're on air.
While they're on air, they must show proportional restraint. That's what he said. And it should be, and all political views at any time should be short of campaigning. So, for argument's sake, Alan Sugar can't say, I don't know, Sunak is great, you should vote for him. There you go.
He did tweet before vote Boris, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Christ. And he's also said that you can express views which are political, as viewers prefer people to give their views. However, the opinion must be through your personality. So,
what?
Well, again, so
very murky rule.
So presumably it'll be a bit like
Laura Koonsberg, you're allowed to do it.
No, I think it's like, I think Gary Lineker's a footballer, so perhaps he could give a view of, say, the World Cup.
Oh,
again,
being
like
Qatar.
Qatar or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Gary Lineker did tweet on X and said this is all very sensible. Thumbs up. So Gary Lineker agrees with it.
Well,
so
he's been part of making this up. I think he's been in talks of.
Oh, has he? Oh, okay.
Working out what to do. Yeah,
that's good. But what do you feel about like that? Do you feel like, because this is very BBC centric, this isn't any other news program. This is any other channel, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, GB
they're
News,
not public.
Nothing like that. Yes, they're not publicly funded, which is why they did this review only for the BBC and related channels, radio and podcasts. But do you think that, because a lot of people are saying that these are pretty much rules that they had there in the first place, but they're just kind of solidifying them and just saying these.
Yeah, they're doing it because they wanted to get Gary for it, didn't they? But when they actually,
well, no, I don't think the BBC did.
No,
I just think that all the right wing people were all going, "Oh, quickly take him off there," as they're watching GB News and having a quick knuckle shuffle at whatever damn we're in. I'm just obsessed with masturbation this episode. I really must be.
But I think it's fine. They need to be impartial, the news presenters. But it's a bit weird when it's like Gary Lineker or like someone on Strictly Come Dancing. It's like Claudia and Tess and all the dancers. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think Tess Daly, she's so neutral. She doesn't do anything. She wouldn't do anything anyway. A bit naughty. I think Claudia Winkleman might have a twinkle in her eye from time to time, but again, hers seems to be very silly. But I think you should be allowed to give an opinion. But I don't disagree with the fact that you shouldn't go too far. Obviously, I agree with what Gary Lineker had tweeted that time. Do I think, though, he went too far with his rhetoric? Maybe he did. Maybe it was a bit insulting. It was a bit like kind of...
But true.
Yes, but he was linking them to the Nazis.
No, he wasn't.
Well, no, he wasn't. He was linking what she had said to a speech.
Similar language
to
they
used
said for the war, yes. Come on.
But not that I don't disagree with him on that fact either.
No.
But I think he could have maybe he could have presented it a bit more fluffier, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But I guess when you're angry and you just get your phone in your hand...
Suella Braverman is so awful, though, that it's hard to not...
Suella Braverman and Priti Patel are both some of the scummiest humans on this planet. But at the same time, I would never, ever tweet anything horrible about them.
No.
But see, there's an argument there. I just said that about Priti Patel and Suella, but am I as bad as Laurence Fox?
No, because you're not saying she's so evil I wouldn't go off and shag her in a pub.
No, that's true.
You're saying she's horrible and evil because of this ABC.
Her views,
things that she's doing.
Her political views. Well, to be fair...
getting into on this episode.
I saw a video, I think it was an old video of her talking about the Metropolitan Police not being able to dance during Pride Parade because it's not meant to be political. And it's like, you want your police service. She's like, she wants the police to be respected and liked in the community, right?
Yeah.
One way of doing that is by letting them take part of it. You know, silliness.
She's not doing it for one or two votes, and this is annoying me.
One comment which cracked me out quickly on that story is @J Raybone said, people acting like Gary Lineker turned Match of the Day into Question Time with a touch of football, which I think is true. People did overreact maybe a little bit, but there you go. There's the new BBC rules.
That's what they're like, though, because like when Carol Vorderman said like one thing, they like some of the papers dug out an advert she did from the 80s for a business that went bust, and they were like, "Oh, Carol's bad at numbers. Business goes bust under her." It's like it's
so
with these rules, like that one where it's like you can't do it while the program is on air. I'm just they're all going to be pouncing and waiting, checking the time someone's tweeted something, checking to see if their show was aired on some channel somewhere. So it's a bit of like a.
But there's
a weird rule, that one, while on air.
But there is an argument there. There is an argument there that you could argue that people have done the same. Not that I'm defending them, but people have done the same with GB News, where people are watching GB News on purpose to find something so they can then complain about it, because people have.
Yeah, but that rule says that they can't tweet a political view while their program's airing. So while The Apprentice on, Alan Sugar can't say, vote Rishi Sunak.
To be fair, though, some of the things Alan Sugar has said in the past, I would agree that perhaps he should be pulled in for them.
He said he didn't want to accept his lordship because he only found out recently he has to pay tax in this country.
Yes, that was another news. Yes, that was another news recently. And people defended him for it. People, working class people, stood up or went on radio and defended him because he wasn't paying tax for services that working class person could be using. This is how blindsided some people are, and woke. They need to be more woke.
Like Kathy Burke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so one last story really quickly then at the end. Katy Perry has sold her entire music backlog for over $200 million.
I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. I've seen other artists have done this as well.
But yeah, apparently it's like a thing that a lot of people are doing.
They're all doing it now. I don't think they're selling it while they're alive. I think it's when they die, so they're kind of preempting the sale. And I think they're doing.
No, it's not. It's like they have it.
Oh, is it? That's still there.
It's like a lump sum of money they get. Basically.
It makes me laugh though, because Taylor Swift has just spent years trying to get her catalogue back from the record company, and there's all these music artists who are now selling it off.
I think that's the difference, isn't it? Right? Because I don't really. It's hard to know why you would do this. Someone did tweet.
I'm rubbing my fingers together for anyone who's listening to this and not watching this on YouTube.
And they said, someone explained this to me like I'm a 2-year-old. So Daddy Key says, selling your catalogue is like selling the right to your music. To the buyer, it's like an investment because they'll profit from the royalties from there on for life, and they'll probably resell it later on for a better offer. So people, basically, Katy Perry has her back catalogue that she's done. She sold it to a company.
For $200 million.
$200 million. And then from now on, any royalties those songs make or those music albums make will go to them, not her. So it's like that thing, because you say like Taylor Swift has re-recorded all her albums to get the rights back.
Yeah.
And it's obviously like, I'm guessing it's the difference between the type of music artist you are or what music means to you if you're an artist.
Yeah, but you say that, but a lot of people who I would argue were very serious artists, like Katy Perry, she's a pop artist, let's be honest, she kind of did it for the...
Also, she doesn't really write her own, like, do you know what I mean? Like, Lady Gaga, like, sees each album as like
a piece of art
of her personal diary. But like, obviously, Katy Perry was thought, I'll just...
California girls are so...
I mean, I think most of that money for Katy Perry comes from one album, Teenage Dream, because that's the album that has more number ones than Michael Jackson did on Thriller. Like,
really?
It's the album with most number ones. That album has her second album. So
do you think that if they found an old song that Michael Jackson, because they do this sometimes with like Elvis or artists who died,
didn't they?
Well, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it was one song they released a few years after he died.
Okay, no, now I mean. So if they found an old song that Michael Jackson, knowing what we know about Michael Jackson now, like he had a, he was a bit.
I think it was,
because he paid a lot of them off. I'm not claiming. Don't come at me, the Jackson estate. This is all. What's the word? Quickly before I get in trouble. Allegedly.
Work. I told you that.
Oh no. If he was to release a song, because there are huge Michael Jackson fans still out there. If there was a song was to come out and they said, we just found this in his vault with the skeleton of a small boy. No, in his vault, and he and they remastered it, kind of used AI to make his voice like sound like Michael Jackson. So it sounded like Michael Jackson was singing it. Do you think it would sell? Do you think it would do so well? Or people would be a bit like, ooh, Michael Jackson? So. Do you think? Because a lot of radio stations don't play his music now.
Yeah, they don't do that. There was a time where they did.
Oh, you used to hear Michael Jackson pretty much every half an hour on
radio. Played though now. So.
Not really. Michael Jackson's music, I'm sorry to say. Well, I'm not sorry to say. I think his music is excellent. His music is fantastic. But it's...
Speaking of Michael Jackson...
hard a little bit.
And on this, did you know that he bought the Beatles back catalogue?
I did know that because he made friends with Paul McCartney and then he bought it behind Paul McCartney's back.
Outbid it.
And Paul McCartney and then broke friendship with him. Yeah, it happened in the 80s, if my memory serves me right.
So, and there's a long list of people who have done this. So Bob Dylan sold all of his.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Bob Dylan, he's a really respected artist. But then he's much older than Katy Perry.
Stevie Nicks, that surprised me.
But she's older too.
Whitney Houston.
She's dead.
The Killers. They've sold all of their releases up to 2020. Wow. Shakira sold all of hers.
Shakira.
Blondie. So this is like a normal...
practice.
It's really odd. Justin Bieber sold his.
Justin Bieber's the most recent one. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, he's recently.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Have they?
Yeah, 140 million, less than Katy Perry. David Guetta, 100 million. It was just odd. Like, why?
Why would you sell legacy? Yeah, I know. It seems a bit weird. I wouldn't. Would you do it? Would you sell your backlog?
I think.
Because you're getting a lump sum, I suppose. The argument
is that's what it is, isn't it? I did ask ChatGPT, our friend ChatGPT, what are some of the reasons why? So people do it for financial gain, lump sum, investment opportunities.
Yeah, for the estate and buying.
Yeah, estate planning, so they can buy property instead. Tax benefits.
No, hang on. No, I don't get that because, I get that, you're not going to be famous forever, but your music will always be there. And I mean, you hear all the time, artists who sell greatest hits albums, 30 years after an album came out. Mariah Carey's literally just re-released an album. So
she writes her stuff. That's what I mean. I think there's a difference. If you write your stuff, I think you're less likely to do it.
Well, so you'll get
a lot of those artists we listed didn't write their stuff. Justin Bieber writes some.
But surely then, doesn't Katy Perry then have to split that 200 million with the other people who created that song, that record? See, so I guess if you're right, then I guess in that way, then Katy Perry probably would earn more money by investing in property or something like that. But in the long term, I don't know. I just think that your music is that's your legacy. That's what
it depends how you see it. Obviously Taylor Swift wouldn't do that because she sees it as her child, but Katy Perry obviously sees it as 200 million numbers instead. Risk management, the industry is unpredictable, so the value of music can... Maybe Katy Perry thought, you know what?
It's
album 2 was the one, and I'm now on album 6. I'm going to get 200 million now or never.
I suppose the cost, look at music in the year 2000, where people were pirating it. It's only now kind of re-established itself again as a stable market because of streaming services. But even then, there's the argument that they're not making as much money as they used to.
Some people sell a back catalogue to invest in their future albums. So
to write more music to sell later on. Do you think we could if we ever make 100 episodes or more of Comment Below, do you think we could sell our episodes to people?
No, I'm not selling. I'm like Taylor Swift. I'm gonna have to re-record them all by myself.
I'm gonna deliberately sell my half so that you have to then use.
Yeah, I'll have to re-record.
Yeah,
I'll be using Ben's version. Comment Below Ben's version.
That's what you should call the episode. Comment Below episode 5, Ben version.
Well, there you go then. So that's interesting, isn't it?
That's
sell your back catalogue.
Yeah, maybe to
Dan Wootton's career over.
Maybe he could sell his back catalogue. I wonder if he might release an album. He might release an album. He could sing.
I don't know where he's going to go.
He could sing at a Trump rally or something.
New Zealand don't want him back.
New Zealand don't want him.
It's going to be Australia, America.
Yeah, but you say that, but America and Australia's media is dominated by Rupert Murdoch, and he burned his bridges in the UK with Rupert Murdoch when he just decided to dump his son.
Yeah,
the Sun newspaper.
That's true. So I won't sleep over worrying about that.
Oh no, I don't give. He's not going to live in my brain rent free. Although I think he does yours a little bit.
No, that's done.
Oh, that's it. You've stopped loving him. Oh dear, poor Dan.
I never loved him.
You did.
So if people wanted to get in touch with us with their comments, their questions, their stories, subjects they want to get in touch with us, how do they do it?
Well, Ben, I shall tell you. They can find us on X at commentbelowpod, Instagram at commentbelow_pod, or email us commentbelowpod@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on your podcatcher, then thank you very much. Please don't forget to rate us 5 stars if you enjoyed the show and give us a reason why you enjoyed the show. Comment below. If you're watching us on YouTube, then you can also comment underneath the video and let us know.
And subscribe.
And subscribe.
Get them up. Get those numbers up.
Oh, I would if you gave me a chance to say it.
Not you, the people.
Yeah, well, if you subscribe, then you can follow us for our other podcast as well, which is Faithful for the Traitors, which we're hoping to do a new series on very soon.
Canada soon.
The Canadian series is coming out very soon. You can find us, although it's tricky to find us because I tried to do us on YouTube and it was difficult. But put in BAM! Productions, and failing that, put in Comment Below Podcast or Faithful to the Traitors podcast, and then you can find us via that route. If you like listening to the podcast and you want to throw us some loose change, then go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful and you can help us fund this wreck that is Comment Below.
Fund the lighting, fund the sound pads.
Yeah. Electricity bill.
Yeah.
Our cat. Our cat is the most important thing.
Or tell your friends about us and get it spread.
You could do that if you fancy it. Tell your friends. Tell them how good we are. Tell them how crap we are. Don't care. Just get them to listen.
We need spreading. So spread it to everyone you know.
Spread us like a disease, not a virus. Spread us like Marmite on toast. Toast that's so warm that it melts the butter, but you still have those little knobbits of butter that hasn't quite melted in the corner.
Nice. So every week we end the episode with a Facebook mum quote of the week, which is a mum, 9 p.m, bottle and a half of wine gone, crushed velvet sofa.
Oh, you set out the scene here?
Yep, and they post a little quote on their Facebook page. So this week we end the episode with these wise words. Drive careful on this road we call life. ... Because some people be switching lanes without a signal.